I'm really enjoying watching as your stories come in to my email. It's kind of exciting each day to log in and see what your characters are up to and where your story is headed and how you're changing your story. I really liked seeing some of the things that you had written after you worked on your arc because then suddenly some of your characters seemed to have more purpose and I could tell what their problems were. So that's really exciting. So today we're going to think about we're really getting going on our stories, but there are lots of different things we have to do to make sure that our story is a good one. And one of those things is we really have to have some drama in our stories, right? We looked at our plot maps and we created all those problems that we wanted to do. And I really wanted to show you what I had been adding to my story. This is the story that I already had in the first day in purple and then the next couple of days in green. And then there's my plot map from yesterday, and you notice that it talks about the different things that I thought I might add. And if I'm looking at this where I am right now, Anne is losing her race. She already did that. So the next big thing that she needs to do is argue with her parents. So I just have to keep that in my mind as I'm writing my story. So the last thing that had happened in my story was that they were getting out of the car and Anne was excited because her grandma and her dad had also pulled into the driveway, so she was hugging her grandma. Her grandma smelled like the peppermints she always carried in her purse. She braced herself on the car as Anne gave her a big bear hug. "Take it easy, Anne," her dad laughed. "Granny's had a long day." Anne stepped back. "I lost. Again." "Oh, come on, third place isn't so bad." Mom rolled her eyes as she said this. "Well, it isn't first," I grumbled under my breath. We eventually got everything into the house. I helped Granny take her suitcase up to her room. It wasn't long before my dad shouted that the pizza was getting cold. It was nice catching up with Granny, but I was worried about my math test. I needed to find my math book and get started on the review. So I was thinking about some of the things that I wanted to accomplish in my story. And remember, I asked you yesterday, all my days blur together, but I'm pretty sure it was yesterday that I asked you to look at some of the stories that you really liked and to find your favorite story and what kinds of things you liked about that. And I had mentioned that in Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, one of the things I liked about it was the strong characters and how their thoughts and their dialogue with other characters helped move the story and tell me about the characters. So I made sure when I was writing this morning that I used dialogue too. So definitely she's talking to her parents and things, but I've got her. The first thing she wanted to say to her grandma when she saw her grandma was that she lost, and that's important, right? She gave her a hug, which was her greeting and her way of saying hello. But her very first thing that she wanted her to know was that she lost. So you have to think about that. That tells you just how important winning is to Anne. And then her relationship with her mom is that her mom just thinks it's not that big of a deal because third place is good. Some people would be really excited to have third place. So that is some of the dialogue there. And then I have Anne grumble underneath her breath. So she's grumbling. And if you have a house, anything like the house I grew up in, you really weren't allowed to grumble very often. And if you grumbled much under your breath, that sometimes caused problems with your parents. So I was thinking that I could have Anne do some more grumbling in my next couple of days of writing because that might get her to a place where she gets in trouble and has a problem with her parents. So that's what I was thinking about. And that's how one thing leads to another leads to another. All right. So I also have this problem coming up. One of the things that I had said on my pink plot map was that she was going to get in trouble at school. And I wonder if, because I'm choosing to think about the math test, will I have her get in trouble with something for the math test? If I stole ideas, like I can take ideas from other stories that I'm reading, like I know we're reading Sidekicked and Drew cheated on his math test. Maybe I'll have her cheat. Or in other stories I read, like people just study really hard and do well. In other stories I've read, people forget to study and then they still do okay. Sometimes people forget to study and they don't do well. So there are all these choices that I have based on my life, based on things that I've seen and things that I've read. So I can really think about where I want to go with my story. One thing that I want to do is let my story kind of come naturally. I don't have to plot out every single part. I already came up with my ideas the other day about the things that I wanted to make sure would happen. And one thing that I noticed as I was writing this morning was that I did start to notice that I decided that I want Anne and her granny to be buddies. Like that was something that came to my mind while I was writing, because as I was thinking, oh yeah, Anne was excited to see her, and how would I feel if I was excited to see somebody, and probably because that we're close and things like that. So you want your story to come naturally to you. You want it to be something where you can feel free to go back and add things. I don't have to look at this and say, oh, I messed up, I have to start over. I don't want to look at this and go, well, I mean, I wished I'd added this, but I can't because I already did this part, okay? So I really have to make sure that I am flexible with my writing. So I'm going to today look at another checklist, all right? And you'll notice it's on your screen and you can use it, but it's a different checklist. It's not exactly the same. In fact, it's the 4th and 5th grade one. And the reason why I gave you the 4th and 5th grade one is so that you can start thinking ahead. It's a progression, and when you progress, you're making progress. So I'm just going to fold it and get the 5th grade side out of the way. And this isn't something that you have to turn in to me. It's for you. All right, it's for you to be thinking about your story and how you think you've done so far. So I'm going to look I want to look at this page. And you know what? I don't even want to use the whole checklist today. I just want to use part of it. I don't have to focus on the whole thing every single time. I know what I've been working on, and one of the things I've been working on is making sure that I've got plenty of details. And that's what elaboration means. So if I zoom in on this, which my camera keeps freezing, so I can't do that. So let me pull it up a little bit. If I zoom in, it says elaboration. I added more to the heart of my story, including not only actions and dialogue, but also thought and feelings. I showed why my characters did what they did by including their thinking. I made some parts of the story go quickly and some go slowly. I included precise and sometimes sensory details and used figurative language, simile, metaphor, personification. Oh, that reminds me. In this one, I said that I gave her a big bear hug, and giving a big bear hug, that's figurative language. So I remember right now that I did that. I used a storytelling voice and conveyed the emotion or tone of my story through the description, phrases, dialogue, and thoughts. Well, I have dialogue, and you notice that I'm not really writing anything on the chart yet. Right now, I'm just trying to think about what I've done. So in order for me to make sure that I'm on the right track, I just need to choose one or two of these to focus on today. You can choose whichever one you want from any of these. Either of these 2 pages. I'm going to look at, I added more to the heart of my story, including not only actions and dialogue, but also thought and feelings. So I'm actually going to go back to the beginning and see if I need to add any more conversations or any thoughts. So let's see. Dang it, I lost again. Anne was running across the finish line at the park. She was in 3rd place. So I want to stop right there. I can tell you, if I was in 3rd place in a race, I personally would be ecstatic. It's been a long time since I won a race. It's been even longer since I was able to get anywhere close to 1st, 2nd, or 3rd place. Okay? So I personally would be excited. So it does make me wonder what is going through Anne's head that makes her be so bummed that she's in 3rd place. Because honestly, 3rd place is a really good place to be. It also doesn't say how many people there are. Now, if there are only 5 people running the race, I could see where 3rd might be kind of a bummer. But if there are 100 people running the race, then 3rd is really good. So I really want to go back here and see if there are any details I can add to give insight to the reader as to why is she so bummed about 3rd place. So Anne was running across the finish line at the park. She was in 3rd place. So if I'm on a computer, I can just type and add in here, but I'm not on a computer, so I have to draw arrows, which is okay. It's old school. Analog. All right. So she's in 3rd place. What might be going through her mind? I'm gonna use some thinking, and even when I'm thinking, even when I'm gonna show you what Anne is thinking, I'm gonna use quotation marks. I can't believe Sarah and Tina are beating me again. Anne thought. Sarah and Tina were notorious. And notorious is a bad way to be famous. So in this instance, they're not famous, but it's well known in a bad way that Sarah and Tina were notoriously late for practice. Sometimes they skipped it altogether. I'm going to use another thought. Here I am busting my tail to win, and they beat me so effortlessly. So right there, it's telling you where Anne's state of mind is. Anne's state of mind right now is that she's frustrated because she perceives that she's working harder than Sarah and Tina, but they're beating her. And so that's one of the reasons why she's frustrated. So what I want you to do today is you can continue writing. You can always spend your writing time continuing to write. But one thing you also always need to do is to do the parts of the lesson that I'm asking you to do. And so the lesson today is for you to take a look at the checklist. You do not have to go through and check off every single thing. This one is a little bit different than the last one because the last one was a third grade one, and the assumption was that you should already know how to do those things. These are things that you're still learning and still working on. So I started with the elaboration one because that's where I felt comfortable. I started over here. You can use any of the ones that you want. And every day I'd like for you to just think about the chart. Maybe some days go back to it and pull it out and see how you're doing. Sometimes I'll make you do that. So today you're going to focus on any part of these two charts that you want to on the fourth grade side and go back and make changes or additions to the story that you already have in progress. Good luck!